Hey guys, thank you for purchasing your Rosso Motors ATV. You should have received two shipments, one with the unit itself in a crate and the one with the battery pack in a box. Today we're going to show you how to unbox and assemble them fully. The tools we're going to need today to assemble this ATV are a knife or a box cutter, a 5mm Allen wrench, a 10mm wrench, as a 12mm wrench, a 19mm wrench, and a Phillips screwdriver. So we're going to start by just taking the cardboard packaging off the outside of the crate. Now that we've removed the cardboard packaging, we're going to remove the steel crate from around the unit. We're going to be using the Phillips screwdriver and the 10mm wrench to do so. So we're going to put the 10mm wrench on the nut behind the screw, and then just simply use your Phillips screwdriver and unscrew the screw itself. Now that we've removed all the bolts from the frame of the bike, we're just going to cut any zap straps that are holding onto the top of the frame. So our next step is going to be to remove the top of the crate here. Simply just lift up, lift away. And then we'll be removing all the white protective packaging from around the bike. So now let's take a look at the contents of what's inside this box here. So here's the contents of that box. We have our reflectors here, which we'll show you how to install later. The battery charger for the bike. These are the nuts that go in the back of the reflectors. A fuse for the bike as well as a spare. We have the keys for the 3-speed switch. The toolkit that comes with the bike. We have been using our own tools just to make it a bit simpler here today. The clamps to install your handlebars and the bolts to use so. And then the knob that we're going to install on the forward, neutral, reverse switch. And the 4 fenders that we're going to put over each wheel. For the next step, we're going to remove the bike from the bottom of the crate. There's a piece of tie wire at the front and the rear of the bike we're going to have to remove from the crate. You can simply just untie the tie wire, or if you have side cutters or anything, it just makes it that much quicker. Next, we're simply just going to lift the ATV right out of the bottom of the crate. So for the next step, we're going to install the handlebars on here. To do so, you're going to need to use the hardware provided in the box. So we're going to need the handlebar clamps here and the 4 long bolts to mount them down. So the first part here will be to break the 2 zap straps holding the reverse and neutral indicator on. Next, we're going to lay down the bracket here to line up with the 4 holes underneath. We're going to lift the handlebars up into the brackets. If you look on the handlebars, there will be some grooved lines that line up with some grooved lines inside the bracket to make it easy to line up. Next, you'll take your smaller brackets and put them on the top, lining them up with the same holes. This is kind of the tricky part, so you're going to need to hold it all together at once. So next, we're going to put our neutral and reverse indicator light on the top and just slide the 4 bolts through the holes. Sometimes it's easier to do the ones on the front without the indicator first. And once you get the 4 bolts loosely threaded in with your hand, you're going to take your 10mm wrench and tighten them all down when the handlebars are positioned right where you want them. So while doing this procedure, you're going to want to make sure you tighten down the 4 bolts evenly on each singular clamp to make sure the clamps clamp the handlebars down evenly. Now that we've finished installing the handlebar on the bike, we're going to install the 4 fenders that go over the wheels. We have 2 sets of fender here, the right side and the left side. For the right side, you can use it on the front or the rear. They're switchable. Same goes for the left side. So we'll be installing the fenders to these metal brackets coming up over the wheels. There's 2 Phillips screws that will be holding the fender in. So we're going to have to remove these screws. For this procedure, we are using a shorter Phillips screwdriver just for convenience. So we're going to remove these screws. So we're going to grab our fender, we're going to line up the 2 holes in the fender with the 2 screw holes where the screws were installed, and simply just reinstall the screws into the holes. And this is the same procedure for all 4 fenders. Now that we've finished installing the fenders, we're going to install the battery pack that came in the second shipment, so we're going to go grab that box now. So now we're going to open up the battery box that we received and show you how to install it the exact way we received it. The batteries are packaged inside a smaller box inside the battery box. Now here's our battery case that we'll be installing inside the bike. So to install the battery pack, we're going to be using our 5mm Allen wrench and our 10mm wrench. Simply you just need to loosen off the 2 screws on either side of the top bracket of the battery box. There's one at the front and one at the rear. Now we'll remove this bracket out of the bike just to make room to install the battery pack. Simply just lift the battery pack and install it in the box. So this is the bracket that sits on top of the battery to hold it in place. We'll just be reinstalling it on top of the battery pack. Next, you'll just tighten these down with your Allen wrench and your 10mm wrench on the nut. The procedure is the same on the front and the rear here. So now that we have our battery fully installed, we're going to install the fuse and plug in the battery. Simply for the fuse holder, you just pull the cap off of it. You'll see 2 prongs down inside it that you just want to press your fuse down into. Just install it there. Just press it down. Put the cap back on, and then there will be a white plug coming out of the battery case, and this white plug coming down out of your harness. Simply just click the 2 together, and you have your battery installed. So now we're going to install the shift knob onto the shifter here. Simply just slide this thing on. You're going to have one little screw that just installs through the top with your Phillips screwdriver. Okay, so now for the final touches, we're just going to install our reflectors on the bike. We'll start with the yellow circle ones up front on the bike. Simply there's a hole drilled into the plastic. You slide the reflector through, take the little nut and screw it onto the back. Okay, so you can just hold the nut on the back and twist the reflector in. To get it really tight, you can put the 10mm wrench onto the back of it and tighten it down. It's the same procedure on the other side. So now that we have our bike fully assembled, there's just a few things that we want to check before we get out riding. First, we're going to use our 19mm wrench and go around and make sure all the wheel nuts are tight on all 4 wheels. Next, we're going to adjust the brake levers to make sure they're in a good position where your child can grab them safely. Simply just move them into the position where you like and tighten them down with your 5mm Allen wrench. Next, we want to take our key and put it in the speed governor and set it to the proper setting for your child's riding ability. So you have first, second, or third. Finally, we're going to take our keys to the other side of the bike and insert them in the ignition, turn to the on position, and we're ready to ride. As you can see now, we have our unit fully assembled here. It was a pretty quick and easy procedure. At the most, should take you about 30 minutes to complete. If you do have any questions while you are assembling the unit though, please feel free to contact us. We're happy to help you out, and we hope you enjoy your ride.